Hi guys, welcome to another episode of GameHammer Extra. If I sound croaked, because I'm actually not very well at the moment. So I wanted to take a little bit of a break from doing the game reviews and put out a GameHammer Extra where we talk about one issue that has been coming up an awful lot in recent weeks and months, which is Are ROMs video game preservation? This debate's been set back off because of the shutdown of MU Paradise and a few other sites like that, and I believe that's just a knock-on effect from Nintendo going after a site that was allowing you to emulate Nintendo games within a browser, so you never even had to download it, you didn't have to find an emulator. It was just, you got that site and you can play the games, which I know archive.org, the Internet Archive, has been doing with some DOS games and some arcade games, but they did have a license for that if I remember correctly. So that's why there's not an entire range on there, and also why they're allowed to do it. But this other site was doing it with Nintendo ROMs, and obviously Nintendo hadn't given them permission because they weren't very happy. So the knock-on effect of this thing where people are saying, oh, but you're getting rid of the ROMs, what about game preservation? These games aren't around anymore, we can't get them. So no, ROMs by themselves are not game preservation. It makes it easier for people to play games, it makes them easier for people to access games. I have no argument with that, because that's true. Being able to pick up a ROM of some game that you'll never be able to afford to buy, to play it, and then just being able to play it just there and then, that's good for getting people into games, getting them interested in some of these hard to get titles. But it's not game preservation per se, not having them available anyway. The ROMs are there. I remember, I think it was Ian from the CU podcast, Ian and Pat, had said the cartridges themselves are preserved, and that's true. So my view of this is that, yeah, these ROMs made it easier for people to access the games, but the games were never, that was never the end of everything. The games were still going to be around. It was never going to be the only way you could play these things, because the cartridges are there. But the cartridges won't last forever, I'll grant you that. The cartridges will eventually degrade. I've got one around here somewhere. Here we are. So I'm just dropping everything. I have this game here, Davis World Tour. It's a Mega Drive game, and it's complete. This is a preserved version of the game. That's what you'd say, isn't it? Because everything's here. It's even still got the hang tabs on. It's a bit dusty. It's even still got the hang tab on, and the Sega sticker on the side from when it was opened, and the manual and everything. It's all here. But here's the problem. I've opened this up, and it's a genuine cartridge. I can't see anything wrong with it, but it won't load. The lockout chip works. It comes up with the produced by or under license from Sega Enterprises thing, but then the game doesn't work. So the lockout chip still works, but I believe the ROM has blown at some point. Either it's burnt out or blown. Probably someone's pulled it out of the system before they turned the system off, or something similar, something daft like that, something that a kid would easily do. You know, a mistake's been made, and it doesn't work. So it's kind of preserved and kind of not. The ROM is no longer there. The cartridges don't always last. That's what I'm trying to get at. So just having the cartridges and all the paperwork that goes with it, which is what I've got there, that's not game preservation either, is it? You need the two. We need to preserve this stuff, because it's the same as film history. A lot of early films have gone. One of my favourite early filmmakers, Méliès, he burnt most of his films. What we've got left of Méliès's work is stuff that he didn't have access to, because he destroyed a lot of it. So I don't want to see stuff like that happen with games. A lot of stuff just gets destroyed. House of the Dead, the original House of the Dead, Sega doesn't have the code for that anymore. It got destroyed in a flood. Sega's got House of the Dead 2 and 3, which is why when they re-released 2 and 3 on one disc for the Wii, it wasn't 1, 2 and 3. Because they don't have the code for 1. They can't make another version without remaking the game, and that is not preservation. It's not bringing it forward for the next generation to enjoy, which is essentially what re-releases are. I have no problem with the virtual console, the ROMs on that and things like that, because it's making games available, which is the argument earlier on. But if you're remaking it from scratch because you've lost it, then that's not a preserved version of the game. It's not bringing it to people's attention for another generation. That's remaking, which is a different thing. So you need to have all this old stuff because it's part of our history. But at the same time, we need to be able to play it because that's part of what these things are. It's no good having a copy of an old film preserved that no one will ever see. We want to be able to show that film so people can realise why we've preserved this stuff, why it's important. So for me, ROMs aren't preservation, but they can be part of preservation. Just the same as having the stuff on the shelves isn't preservation, but it's part of preservation. I could show you an example of, you can probably see from around here. I've got over 1,600 PlayStation 2 games here. I've also got about, I can't remember how many Xbox games, it's 100 and odd, maybe 200 or so of the original Xbox games, because I'm trying to collect the exclusives. I have a copy of Outrun 2 on the original Xbox. My copy I bought from new when that game was released. It doesn't work. So I had it 6 months, I was playing it intensively, the Xbox got warm, I left the disc in overnight. When I came back to play it, it didn't work anymore. I don't know whether it was a fault in the disc manufacturer or the fact that I left it in a warm console that helped speed up delamination or what. That game doesn't work anymore. And that was 6 months old. This stuff around me won't last forever, so we're going to need ISOs of these. We're going to need disc copies and things like that, so that they can be preserved. But I've got the original paperwork and the original cases, like Super Monkey Ball Adventure here. Everything's here, so again, it's the same thing as the Davis World Cup. Eventually the disc won't work, but we'll be able to play it and we'll have the paperwork that went with it. It's all preserved. So that's, I think I'm going around in circles because I'm a little bit ill, but my point here is that one of these things isn't the whole deal. It's not the whole thing. We need the packaging, we need the paperwork that came with it, the manual and things, and we need the game. So just having the ROM, no, that's not game preservation. That's making it available, and that's a good thing, but it's not preservation. It's more like a doomsday vault. If you've ever heard of the doomsday vault, there are seeds for all kinds of species in this vault for reseeding the earth in the event of an apocalypse. That's literally what this vault is for. It's an underground vault storing the ability to reseed the earth, and that's great. That's what ROMs are. It's a case of if everything went, we can get it back. It won't be perfect, it won't be the full thing, but it's got the gem that we can build from, which is why I also think we need to scan the covers, we need to scan the manuals, we need copies of everything, so that in the event that it all goes, we can at least recreate it. We don't lose anything, we don't lose our history, like a lot of old films are. And a lot like the film industry did, and that's the thing. Preservation isn't about making it available for everyone necessarily, but that's a good advantage, because the ROMs are there and we can do that. But that's all I had to say on that one. I'm not very well, so I'm going back to bed. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Bye.